Fleury Abbey in Saint-Benoît-sur-Loire, Loiret, France, founded about 640, is one of the most celebrated Benedictine monasteries of Western Europe, which possesses the relics of St.Benedict of Nursia. Its site on the banks of the Loire has always made it easily accessible from Orléans, a center of culture unbroken since Roman times. Today the abbey has over 40 monks and is headed by the abbot Etienne Ricaud, abbot of Fleury. A monk and abbot of Fleury was a theologian of wide-ranging intellect. His life was written by the chronicler Amoin, also a monk of Fleury. Andrew of Fleury wrote Miracula Sancti Benedicti. Hugh of Fleury was a monk of Fleury known for his chronicles and other writings. Churches. The Catholic Encyclopedia says that, for the very start, the abbey boasted of two churches, one in honor of Saint Peter and the other in honor of the Blessed Virgin. The Church of St. Peter was demolished in the 18th century. The existing church dedicated to the Virgin pre-existed the founding of the monastery, after the ravages of the Normans, who penetrated via the Loire and burned the monastery buildings, which suffered a catastrophic fire in 1026. This became the great late 11th century Romanesque basilica, which occasioned the erection of a great tower that was intended as the west front of the abbey church, which was completed in 1218. It was here that the Fleury playbook was compiled, perhaps in dedication to the new church. The tower of Abbot Gorslan, resting on 50 columns, forms a unique porch. The Carolingian-style church is about 300 feet long, its transept 140 feet. The choir of the church contains the tomb of a French monarch, Philip I of France, buried there in 1108. Of the medieval abbey's buildings, only this basilica survives in the modern monastery. Medieval history. The 17th-century Benedictine scholar Jean Mabillon accepted the traditional founding of Fleury as by Leo de Baldus, abbot of St. Ainan about 640, in the existing Gallo-Roman villa of Floriacum, in the Valle Soria, the Golden Valley. This was the spot selected by the abbot of St. Ainan for his Benedictine foundation. Rigomerus was its first abbot. The most famous of the Merovingian abbots was St. Momolus, who effected the translation of the relics there of Benedict of Nursia. The monastery underwent a season of reform in its monastic life, about 930, along the lines first laid out at Cluny. The monastery enjoyed the patronage of the Carolingian dynasty for generations. It was also central to the political ambitions of the Robertian house, descended from Robert I of France, several of whom had held the title Duke of the Franks. The monk of Fleury named Helgard was chaplain to King Robert II and wrote a brief Epitome Vitae Roberti Regis. Fleury had particular significance in lending legitimacy to its patrons. Although royal and ducal patronage had material advantages, there was also a price to be paid in terms of monastic autonomy when the ducal candidate conflicted with the choice of the monastic community. Theodulphus, Bishop of Orléans, established at Fleury a school for young noblemen recommended by Charlemagne. By the mid-9th century its library was one of the most comprehensive ever assembled in the West, and scholars such as Lupus of Ferrières travelled there to consult its texts. Later Understreet, abbot of Fleury, head of the Reformed Abbey School, Fleury enjoyed a second golden age. It kept up close relations with abbeys in England. Later, among the non-resident abbots in commendam were Cardinals Odette de Coligny and Antoine Sanguin in the reign of François I and Cardinal Richelieu. Modern history. Like all Benedictine monasteries in France, the community was scattered by the French Revolution. Nevertheless, a Benedictine presence remained continually. The parish was held by a monk disguised as a secular priest, and there were numerous attempts to restore the monastery throughout the 19th century. Finally, in 1944, the community was restored to the abbey, which was rebuilt as a member of the Subiaco congregation. The monastery is remembered each day at evensong in Winchester Cathedral, with an additional short said prayer at the conclusion of the responses. The Fleury prayer, Benedict of Nursia's relics. Fleury is reputed to contain the relics of Saint-Benedict of Nursia, the father of Western monasticism, a claim disputed by the monks of Monte Cassino. Momolus, the second abbot of Fleury, is said to have effected the transfer when that abbey fell into decay after the ravages of the Lombards in the 7th century. Benedict's relics, and the miraculous Benedictine, developed over 3 centuries by 5 monks of Fleury, including Andreas of Fleury, attracted pilgrims, bringing wealth and fame. The monks of Monte Cassino impugned the claims of Fleury, but without ever showing any relics to make good the contention that they possessed the body of the founder.